already. All right. See you again.
I have your book, but
all right.
so you'll sign it.
So Prof, the governor will be in the middle, Prof will be on that side, and Dr. Fayemi will be here.
Yes. Out of the way.
He's the big guy. So yes. The Governor General. Yeah, Governor General should be. Most important.
This is Engineer Abdullahi Sule, Governor of Nasarawa, watching NoireTV.
I am Pat Utomi, you're watching NoireTV.
This is Fayemi, watching NoireTV.
So with this fuel subsidy example, what would you have changed in the execution?
Well, it's also much what I would have changed. As I said, in principle, there's very little to disagree with. Nigeria had reached a breaking point, and everybody felt, in terms of benefit, we were losing more than gaining more. But because it had become an albatross around the neck of everybody, in which we felt we could not do without it, we needed to have made sufficient provision for the most vulnerable segment of our population before announcing it.
Okay.
That's the only thing I would have done differently. And that's what the governors actually proposed.
So with this fuel subsidy example, what would you have changed in the execution?
The NNPC is an opaque organization, and a great deal of what we call subsidy is actually stealing within that structure. Look, in 1994, 95, I don't remember, I was working on a book, Managing Uncertainty. And I went to interview the then immediate past Group Managing Director of NNPC, Dr. Tom John. And I said to him, wouldn't it help if we privatize a portion of NNPC, or privatize NNPC, put that on the London Stock Exchange and this, and I talked about the dimensions of the value that it will create for Nigeria. And he kind of like went, what do you mean privatize NNPC? Is it not privatized? I said, oh, I think I missed it. When did it happen? Then he laughed. He said, well, I think NNPC has always been privatized. The problem is that those who own it did not pay for it. Yeah, chew that over. I chewed it over for 30 seconds before I got, oh my God, this is brilliant. The truth of the matter is that the NNPC has not always been governed well. And the opacity of NNPC has allowed for us to run this scheme where over the years, what we call subsidy, it's full of all kinds of games. At the point a couple of people got jailed, and this, a petrol tanker is imported, it comes in, it goes out, it comes back in, they meter it, they pay the people. Stuff like that was routine. Even above and beyond those kinds of games, if you look at the numbers, they don't add up, they don't make sense. Give an example. California is one of the most motorized societies in the world. People, everybody has a car. If you look at person per liter consumption of petrol in California, it's less than Nigeria, where the few people have cars. It tells you there's something wrong with this. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
One time I did a comparison. Pakistan, California, several places. So it shows that if you dealt with that opacity and created systems of accountability, you would have reduced maybe 60% of what you call subsidy. You don't throw the burden on the poor people. And then you can take it from there.
How do you prioritize spending? I'm sure you have many competing interests. How do you prioritize spending, and does that answer change in times of economic uncertainty?
Well, that's clearly the primary responsibility of any leader. If you're an elected official,
right. So in practice,
prioritizing expenditure is a primary task you have. And how do you do that?
Yes.
First is the nature of your environment, the people that you're governing. What are their desires? What are their expectations?
And how are you getting the feedback?
That you get primarily through your political engagement.
Okay.
That's the first level of it. Because if you're going to run for office in a democratic environment, you've got to listen to people.
Yes.
About their yearnings,
right.
about their expectations. If it is education that is a primary responsibility to them, or healthcare, or social security, or security, you see that hierarchy of needs. And on the basis of that, you also look at the resources available to you and how to generate additional resources or look for alternative sources of funding, private sector, multilateral support, development finance, and the totality of it is what you put in place to respond to the yearnings that have been placed before you.
Okay, yeah.
And how you then prioritize that depends primarily on what you also as a leader feels is the burden your people carry. Because it's not all the time that what the people tell you is what is best for them. You also have a responsibility as a leader to say, yes, it's okay for you to look at that in terms of your existential needs, immediate. But over the long term, this is what you're going to praise me for. This is what this society really needs in order to get to a developmental state, which may not be popular in the immediate.
So given the recent economic challenges and rising inflation rates in Nigeria, do you believe the government's fiscal policies are effectively addressing the needs of the people, or are they benefiting more of the elites?
Well, you have asked that question differently earlier on, and I'm happy that Dr. Fayemi answered it, to say that the people, it wasn't you actually, the MD, or the GM who asked the question that the people are complaining and they are believing that our fiscal policies are not important and they are the only ones making the sacrifices. I think that's the way he put it, and I'm sure he addressed it properly, when Dr. Fayemi addressed it on that issue, that sometimes it's not exactly what the people feel is what has to be done that has to be done. So yes, there are so many things in the country that are being addressed. When people tell you the good old days, talking of 1960s, 1940s, and the rest of that, people are really avoiding realities, because in these 1960s, 1940s that you don't have the development that you have today. People were not making the kind of money we're making today. People were not driving the kind of cars that we have today. People are not building the kind of houses that are being built in Nigeria today. So yes, there are some good old days, but there were also challenges with the good old days. And there are the days today, and there are also the advantages and the good things happening today. So what I noticed and what I learned about governance is that you can never, ever satisfy everybody. So whatever you do, some other people are going to come on the social media and say, no, we don't want it. That's not what we want, or this is what we want. And that's why I gave you the example of if we have 3 billion naira as an income and we have to spend it, somebody will say, no, pay workers the money. Somebody will say, no, construct this road. Somebody will say, no, construct this hospital for us. Depending on their needs, because people are going to come out with different things. And I'm happy, really, I got excited when Dr. Fayemi also definitely having the same kind of problem. He said he has 3 million people and 3 million ways of governing the state, because everybody is going to tell you, this is the way I do it. And those who have never been elected, never ever participated in election, never been a leader in any kind of thing, they know how to run the government more than you, because they will tell you, this is the way they do it. You say, how do you know? Because you have never been in it. So, and I think that's the advantage of freedom. That's what democracy is all about. So you take from everybody and then you put it together and you come out with what you think is the best thing. So if you talk to the president today, the president will tell you, yes, the decisions that I'm taking for Nigeria, I strongly believe they are the best decisions for Nigeria. The policies that we have today are the best policies for Nigeria, because that's his conviction, and that's the reason why he's taking those decisions based on what he has seen or what he has learned or the future that he is seeing, and I think that's probably the answer that I can give you.